Okay. On March 29th, 1944, she wrote, "Imagine how interesting it would be if I published a novel about the secret annex." Anne Frank was a symbol of bravery, and she left a lasting legacy on many people. If you were to ask someone today, "Do you know who Anne Frank is?" they would most likely say yes. Today, I want to discuss the life of Anne Frank. I want to go over what her childhood was like and how her life was like in the secret annex. I would also like to go over her most famous piece of literature, which was her diary. Let's go ahead and talk about Anne Frank's childhood. Anne Frank grew up mostly in Amsterdam South. She was born on July 12, 1929, to a wealthy Jewish family. She went to Montessori school with her older sister Margot, and they had an overall fun, exciting childhood like you would expect a child to have. This was until they started to have to move around often. They wound up moving to the Netherlands because they were trying to flee Nazi Germany. So Anne Frank was very confused and she was kind of scared of what was to come. This was in 1933. Anne and Margot ended up leaving Montessori school, and they ended up attending a Jewish secondary school in May of 1940. Next, let's go ahead and talk about what life was like in the annex. The Frank family resided there for 2 years. They were then joined by another family whose names were August and Herman van Pels and their younger son, Peter. Then they were joined by another man by the name of Fritz Pfeffer, who was a dentist. As you can imagine, a lot of tension arose in the annex because there was 8 people living in a really small area hidden behind a bookshelf, and it was also located above an office space. So they had to be really quiet because they were scared of being heard and being caught by the German Nazis. This created a lot of tension, but through communication, respect, and connections, they were able to create relationships. They mostly gathered overnight, and sadly, on August 4th, 1944, they were caught by the German Nazis because someone gave a tip and said that they were living behind that bookshelf. Anne and Margot were then sent to camp in Auschwitz in October of 1944. They were then sent to Bergen-Belsen, and in the months of February and March to follow, they ended up passing away. Lastly, I would like to talk about her diary. She received a diary on her 13th birthday in June. It was a cloth-covered diary, and she was really excited to receive it, mostly because she was able to write many tales about her life, and she also wrote about how she wanted to publish a book. She always referred to her diary as Kitty, so every time she did a diary entry, she wrote, "Dear Kitty." No one knew why she referred to her diary as Kitty, that's just what she did. She also wrote about her love for Peter, the young boy who lived in the annex with them. And she stated that although she loved him, she knew that he was not her true love. A woman by the name of Mipjes ended up finding the diary after they left, and she was able to save a couple of pages. She then returned it to Frank's father, Otto, and he was so intrigued by the writings that he ended up publishing the book for his daughter, and a lot of people were really fascinated by her writing. Although some people did critique it because they thought that the literature she wrote was too advanced for her age. Overall, Anne lived a very short life, but she was able to find beauty in her everyday life. And to summarize, we went over her childhood and how it was quite normal until the Nazi Germans took over, and her 2 years living in the annex with 8 other people, and her famous piece of literature, the diary. If you found what I spoke about interesting today and you would be interested in visiting Anne Frank's house, it's actually located in Amsterdam, Netherlands. And you can see pictures, you can see pieces of her diary, and take a little tour and learn more about Anne Frank and her family. Before I end my speech, I would like to say, let's honor Anne Frank's name because she was a brave young soul who was able to see the light on the darkest days. And before I end the speech, I would like to say a quote from her. It goes, "In spite of everything, I still believe that people are truly good at heart." Thank you. And these are my note cards.